Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this inaugural episode of what I am calling, with Ant's help, I am calling the Nugeroom. Now, the Nugeroom was something I tried to start a couple of years ago and got nowhere. I had the idea to do a podcast show, which was basically just going to be looking at a particular topic each week. And it got as far as my brain and some tweets, and that was as far as it got. But because we've been doing these Doctor Who episodes, Ant and I kind of decided that it'd be cool if we carried them on in some shape or form. Obviously not in the review format, but just a kind of discussion about a particular geek-related news item that is of concern and interest to all you fine geek folks out there. And also what I should say is week in, week out, hopefully it'll be me and Ant, but sometimes it might just be me. It may be one episode a week. It might even be 2 episodes a week if I suddenly have a hankering to have a bit of a conversation with the geek sphere. So without further ado, say hello, co-host.
Hello, and thanks for inviting me into this rather fine newsroom.
Yes, my newsroom, which contains 2 cats currently at the moment, and half a packet of cream crackers.
Do you know what we need? We need VR headsets so we could just have a virtual studio.
Yeah. And if anyone out there wants to do a logo, by all means, get in touch. Oh yeah, and or someone else.
Oh, that's it. Now you burn them bridges.
I know, but someone might want to do me. Someone might draw me like fancy new suit.
I thought you were going to say someone might want to do a good one.
No, I thought I was going to say someone might want to do me, but that's not what I meant to do.
Yeah, don't say that either. That's a different show.
That's a different show altogether.
Nuge Nights.
Yeah, which you can probably download from Pornhub. Anywho, what we're here to discuss today, in all seriousness, is something that came to my attention over the weekend, and I got to give a big hair up shout out to Alasdair Stuart, who raised this on Twitter. And basically, this is the fact that Comixology have hiked up their prices considerably, without warning or explanation, according to Alasdair, by 66%. This is for UK and European titles, I believe. Obviously, if I'm wrong on any of these facts, by all means, feel free to email in, tweet in, whatever. And one of the things Alasdair said was that he's got a wish list, a Comixology wish list, which I have. And last Wednesday, the book that he had on the wish list, which was, I think, a She-Ra graphic novel, was $8.99.
And I just read that.
Oh, cool. And when the day he put up that tweet, which was March the 7th. So when was that? That was Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah. It was priced at $12.99, and from his kind of investigation, he was saying that in fact some of the copies on the digital copies on Comixology are actually priced more than their physical counterparts. So
yeah, depending where you get the physicals from.
Exactly.
That's the case now.
Yeah.
So I think, firstly, I think we kind of need to go back a little bit and talk about the fact that what's been going on with Comixology is in the UK and Europe, the prices of the digital comics were significantly cheaper than even the American versions.
Yeah.
So it was actually, as of like August last year, I was reading an article, I think it was on Bleeding Cool, from August last year, and a lot of American comic readers were actually getting their digital copies from Comixology UK because it was cheaper. And the reason for this is that Comixology were essentially absorbing a lot of the costs and taxes that they have to pay for the digital copy that they wouldn't ordinarily pay for physical copies, because there's I think VAT subjects on it with the digital version, but not the physical version, because the physical version is a book and therefore not subject to VAT. So essentially, the company were kind of absorbing all these costs in Europe and the UK, and they've suddenly, for whatever reason, they've decided enough is enough. We're not doing that anymore. So essentially, they've gone to that system where you take the American price and just put a pound sign in front of it instead of a dollar sign.
Yeah.
So it's like $4.99 item is now £4.99.
Yeah.
Which was, it was $2.99 in the UK or $3.60 in the US, which is why as I say, the Americans were like, well, I can save myself $1.30 there. I'm going to buy it from the UK site.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not so much about, or the negative thing, isn't it? I mean, it is obviously a negative thing because any comics I did buy digitally, I get through Comixology. And there are a couple of, I don't get floppies, but I do read single issues via Comixology. In fact, I've just realized today that there's a He-Man miniseries out, so I've just bought 4 issues of that. It's more the fact that there's been no press statement about this. There's been nothing to say this was going to be coming, and it's kind of like, it has taken people by surprise. And there's been a lot over Twitter since, as you say, since Wednesday, where people have been messaging into Comixology support, just asking the questions, what's going on? Is this a glitch? Is it a permanent thing? What is it? And literally all they're getting back is this same copy and pasted response, which is, and I'm going into reading voice now. A number of factors influence the prices on our stores, including pricing from content providers, taxes, and currency exchange rates. And that's literally all people have got. I went through quite a few tweets today, and I was pasting the responses in, and it was always the same thing, with occasion like, hi, whoever did the message, and an exclamation mark, and then this copy and pasted statement.
Yeah.
So it's just the fact that there's no like actual reasoning or thought process to it. So if you're not aware of the background and the issues, and that things were actually cheaper and it was costing effectively, they were taking a negative profit hit on it, which they can afford to do. They're part of Amazon,
Yeah.
Without that kind of knowledge and information, this just seems like a money grab.
Yeah.
And I get that.
And I think the other things as well is, obviously the whole copy and paste response is it's obviously they've obviously sought legal advice, I'm guessing, and legal
Absolutely.
have said this is all you can say at the moment. But I'm with you. I mean, there's a bigger issue as to where we stand now with the fact that actually you've got digital comics on the site now which are more than physical, or at the very least the same price as physical, and with no warning. That's kind of where I sit with it, is that if you'd sent me a press release or something, but by press release, not me, because because we do Geek Syndicate, but if you'd sent out a statement to like anyone who uses Comixology, who has an account with Comixology, as a kind of heads up to say, especially your UK and your European users, to sort of say, look, for these factors, a price change is coming.
Yeah.
But we apologize. These are the reasons, and this is the reasoning behind us making this change. Yes, you're still going to get backlash of that, I'm sure, but you're going to get a lot more understanding from people, because they're going to go, well, at least they've given me a heads up.
Yeah.
A month, 2 months in advance that this is coming, rather than almost feels like stealth pricing, where it's almost like we'll just slip it in through the back door and hopefully no one will notice.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's kind of one of those things. It's the same with anything. It's like when you're on a project at work or anything. It's communication that's key. If you just change without telling people, there's always resistance, and there's always more resistance than if you explain why. If you explain why, you've always got the level-headed people who'll go, "Okay, I get that. I'll have to reduce my pull list," or whatever. But you're not then going to just be, "Why have you done this?" sort of thing, because you've had the reasoning. You're always going to get, obviously, the people who are like, I can't afford that. I've got kids to feed and stuff, and that's true. I'm not saying that's not true for people, but without the communication, you're going to get the people who would ordinarily roll with the change without commenting and without being negative, kind of asking the questions, and when they don't get a response, getting angrier about it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing for me. And as you say, the copy and paste response. Yeah, that's the legal stance. That's what they've got to say. But it would have been nice if that had said a bit more, about the fact that they were actually almost pricing themselves out, kind of thing, and they were taking a hit on it or whatever.
Yeah.
Then and to be honest, I don't even know if that is the case. That's just what I could piece together. That's based on the pricing and based on the fact that the American people were using Comixology UK. you know, for all I know, actually they were still making a profit, and now they're just making double the profit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
and
not.
that's the thing. We don't know.
Yeah.
And you know, because I think there was a comic I had in my wish list. I think it was Strange Adventures. I can't think what it was, and it was. I think now it was something today. I think it was like £4.99 or £5.99. I can't think of the price. It may not have even been that comic, but straight away I was kind of like, I can't justify that kind of expenditure.
Yeah, I mean,
But sorry, and
sorry.
by that what I mean is kind of like there's comics that I will get because I know I'm going to enjoy those comics. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
And there's comics that I will get to take a punt. You
Yeah.
know, someone's recommending, I'll give that a go, see what it's like, you know. But when you're seeing one issue of a comic, 22 pages or whatever, which is coming out at like, 5-6 quid, then that idea of I'll take a chance on it is a bit risky,
Mm.
and it's suddenly more expensive, you know. And I think it was. I'm just scrolling down some of the things I saw on Twitter because we asked some people if we put a call out on Twitter if people had any comments and stuff, and it's one of the things that sort of Stephen Arian said. A single issue from the big two is £4 or even a fiver. Two of those is the same price as a published novel. I can read a comic in 10 minutes if I go slow. It takes hours to read a novel. They're pricing fans out of the habit when they should be attracting more new fans, which I think is it's an interesting.
I think, yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, Steve, obviously, he's an author, but he's also a comic writer as well. He's worked on Flux with Pete and stuff, and various other things over the years, so he knows both industries to a degree as well. So it's not like it's just someone. But he's right. I mean, the reason I don't tend to buy floppies or single issues is because I want to sit down for half an hour and read, not for 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
5-10 minutes is fine if I'm just making a cup of tea or I'm on the loo or whatever. But I kind of feel like even then I feel like I want more story than that, which it does make me one of those awkward and awful comic kind of buyers who do wait for the trades, and it can harm the industry because you get paid on page rate and stuff and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's a fair point. Eight quid gets you a 300, 400, 500 page novel, depending, which will take you a long time. It's got a lot of world building, and I'm not saying that the work and the talent that goes into creating a comic is worth any less. It's just objectively you're getting less for your buck, not in terms of the process maybe, but in terms of the actual physical thing you're getting. And yeah, it is a fair point. And it's one of the reasons why I never really got into single issues. I came into comics quite late anyway. I was sort of at university doing my master's degree when I finally really, thought, right, I'm going to get my teeth into this, because I've always loved comic characters and superheroes and, superhero movies and sci-fi and pulp and all that kind of stuff. But I'd never really got into comics. But looking at, like, A, there was no local comic shop around me at university that I knew of, and B, it was sort of like I could pay like 15 quid and get a nice, lovely bound hardback. Why wouldn't I do that? Also for the space point of view, and that's one of the reasons why I went digital, was for the spacing. And it does mean now, for example, for the He-Man series I mentioned, for Bang, for example, that we reviewed on Birds Geek last episode, plug. I will get those in single issues, and at $2.99, that was you didn't even think about it, but you make that $4.99 or $3.99. I think the He-Man ones were I bought today, which are from DC, and that's the other thing. The pricing from publishers seems to vary. It's like some things from DC are $3.99, some things are $4.99. So I don't know. I don't know whether DC actually price comics differently based on what tier it is, or what they're expecting to get, how many sales they're expected to make. I don't know, but it just seems, when I had to scan through Comixology earlier, it was almost a little bit almost random, if you know what I mean. And I know it's not random, because there are a lot of factors that go into that, including all those things I quoted earlier. But it was kind of, I was looking, I was thinking, oh look, no, because everything on my list is $3.99. That's not $4.99. But then when you go and you look at a Batman title, or like the Marvel event that's on and stuff, it's a fiver.
Well, so Bang number 1, which is what we reviewed on Birds of Geek, is currently that's $3.99. Let's just go to new. Yeah, see, there's an issue 90 of Batman. That's $3.99. So that's what I mean. I don't know. I almost want to do a little bit more. Asset Strange Adventures. That's the one I was.
Yeah, that's a $5.
Strange Adventures. That's what I was going to get.
And Marvel 2020 is a $5.
Yeah. So that's $4.99. I'm just going to go into it just to check the page count. Although to be fair, that's 31 pages.
31 pages.
But this is what I mean. The other thing is as well. I don't know how. To be fair, I don't know how much this was last week.
Yeah.
So this was me just looking today, because someone had told me about it, and it was Tom King. I was thinking about getting it. So if anyone has this on his wish, has this on their wish list, I'd be interested to know if the price for this has gone up.
Because the other thing that Comixology have said as well is that if you've pre-ordered something, so not a subscription but a pre-order, then you'll get it for the pre-order price.
Right.
So it's like if you got, say, a trade collection on pre-order, and you'd paid $8.99 for it, then that's what you'll pay, not $12.99.
Okay.
So that there is that slight light at the end of the tunnel for people.
Yeah, I mean also as well with the indie titles. So obviously I have my own comics on there, as in the Unseen Shadows comics that I publish, which are obviously mine, and none of the pricing on those have changed. Because obviously, I'm guessing because I've set those prices myself as part of the indie side of Comixology, I'm guessing the pricing has stayed the same. But whether or not that means I get penalised down the road, I don't know. It's what I mean. It's still
has it reduced your cut in inverted commas?
Yeah.
Almost?
So even from that perspective, as an indie person who's publishing comics through Comixology, there's been no communication in terms of, by the way, we're going to be raising prices. Yeah, prices and changes, just so that you know, this is what, there's going to be no change for you guys, or there are going to be changes with the amount of royalties you get. So you might want to look at your pricing. I don't know. That's what I mean. And I think we keep coming back to it isn't so much what they've done, it's how they've done it.
Yeah.
And it's just created this perfect storm of uncertainty and people just quite rightly angry and upset because they don't know what's going, and potentially damaging to the sort of comic industry, well, certainly on the sort of UK and European side of things. And the other thing is as well is, which I find really bizarre that Comixology don't really advertise, is the fact, so I now get Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much the same as Comixology Unlimited.
Is it? Okay.
In that, when I say pretty much the same, I haven't sort of compared titles for titles, but there's a shed load of graphic novels on Kindle Unlimited that I can read.
So do you read those on the Kindle app though, or on a Kindle? They're not like, it's not like you don't read them through Comixology or anything.
No, but because I'm getting them through, I can't remember exactly how. Yeah, it is through the Kindle, but because Amazon own Comixology, they obviously own the panel by panel technology thing.
Yeah.
Which is what I use a lot of. That's how I read a lot of comics digitally. So even though I'm getting it through the Kindle app, I might as well be reading it through Comixology. Do you get what I mean? There's no difference in terms of how I can read it. So I think the only thing is, I think there's a limited number that you can have out at any one time. I don't know what the number is, but basically you just check it back in and then you can get another title.
It's essentially like a library, isn't it?
Yeah. And I don't know if the maximum is like 10 titles, but if you've got 10 titles out, you have to sort of return some of them. But that's it. And like, there's a lot of stuff. Like at the moment, I'm just about to start the Lock and Key because I've just watched the series on Netflix, and I think there's like 5 volumes on there. So there's a lot of stuff on there, but I only came across that by accident because they don't make any real move to sort of market that to comic readers in the UK who can't get because Comixology Unlimited isn't available over here, is it?
No, not at the moment. And there's no news as to when it will be. They just keep saying no news on that yet.
No, but you would think they would go no news on that. However, most of these titles are available via Kindle Unlimited, and there's still quite a lot of the time when I mention it to people, they go, "Really?"
Yeah, I forget every time you mention it to me, and I think, "Oh yeah."
And also, if you've got Amazon Prime, you have Prime. Is it Prime Reading?
Yes.
You get as part of the package, but that has comics on there as well, which you can get for free.
Yeah, Prime Reading. Prime members read selected books for £0 and 0 pence.
Yeah, and there's not as many, but I got a few off that. But then I joined Kindle Unlimited, and I think for the first 2 or 3 months, it didn't cost me anything. And I didn't really realise that until I started getting charged, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because I've not signed up for it yet.
Yeah. But certainly in light of this, I may well stick with it and do a real deep dive to see what actually is available, and certainly what's available in the newer titles. You know, because obviously a lot of stuff I'm reading is stuff that's been out for quite a while.
Yeah.
So it's not quite a Netflix alternative, because if it was a Netflix alternative, it would be everything on Comixology.
I'm just having a quick scan through the Prime Reading thing, and there's Lock and Key Volume 1's on here. There's Batman Year 1, so there's some good titles. Darth Vader Volume 1, which is, I suppose, a bit older now, isn't it? But there's quite some good content on it.
Even that's how I've been reading Dr. Alpha.
Yeah.
She's from Dark Horse. That's how I've been reading that. I've been getting that through Kindle to begin with, Prime Reading, and now sort of Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, I don't know if. So I suppose, I'm just looking. Hang on a second. Strange Adventures Kindle Edition, $4.99. I was just looking to see if that was available on any of the Kindle Unlimited or whatever, but it's not.
But the Kindle edition is $4.99. So it's the same pricing as
as
Comixology.
Yeah, which you'd expect, because it's all owned by Amazon.
Yeah, but
So I guess and again, it's this thing of, we just wanted to have a bit of a discussion about it. There isn't really an answer to this. The other things as well is, obviously there is a huge, people are focusing a lot on sort of the DC and Marvel, and obviously the price and that's gone up. And other titles, but obviously there is a huge indie market out there as well. Hasn't they're still going. There's still other ways to pick up comics. Comic House is a great alternative certainly for indie comics. But yeah, I don't know I don't know where this is going to end up. All I want to see now, I suppose, as we try and round this up, what I want to see now going forward is some clear reasoning from Comixology. I want to see a press release that's going to go out to everyone to basically say, this is the score, this is why we've had to do this, this is what's going to happen going forward.
Yeah, it's literally, for me, as I say, I would not have minded a jot. I mean, to be fair, I probably wouldn't have even noticed, because I'm fortunate. I kind of, like, if I fancy a comic, I'll buy it, if you know what I mean. But I know I'm in a fortunate position where I can afford to do that, and I probably wouldn't have noticed that I was suddenly paying $3.99 instead of $2.99 or $4.99. I might have thought, oh, that seems a bit steep, but I would have just assumed that was the price it is, like, So I'm quite fortunate like that, but for a lot of people that's not the case, and comics can be an expensive hobby, and it's just effectively got more expensive if you buy digitally. And it would just be nice to see the reasons why, and if it's always better to know about things in advance than to be told. Even now, if they come out with a retrospective press release, well, that'd be great. It's still a little bit kind of like, okay, but you could have told us that before, sort of thing. So just it's whatever way you look at it, I feel Comixology and Amazon shot themselves in the foot a little bit with this one.
Yeah, and it's a similar principle, which is why I always used to get annoyed, and still do, where with gaming, they kept trying to push people to do. I mean, I now have an Xbox which is just digital download only games, but they kept trying to push people down the digital game route, but they were charging more for a digital game than if you bought the game physically.
Yeah,
and that was from a shop. That was not like second hand or anything. That was when a game came out, it was costing more digitally. Now, no matter how you slice it, and it's the same, and in many ways, it's probably worse with comics because I read my comics digitally, pretty much all my comics digitally these days, unless I'm buying an absolute edition or a hardback, because now I buy more for that sort of thing, just for space.
And also the things that look nice on a shelf.
Yeah, but you cannot beat a high quality, fantastically drawn and coloured comic, whether it's a floppy or a hardback or whatever. If the art is singing, it's singing.
Yeah.
So, and it does look better on paper, printed in your hand. So that's what I'm paying for. So you're telling me that I'm going to be paying the same price for that experience as I am to be sitting and reading it on my screen. Now, the art is still going to be fantastic and whatever. However, there is a slight disparity between the two. And that should be reflected in the cost, in my opinion. So in my opinion, digital should always be cheaper than physical.
The only proviso I would say to that, and I don't know how it applies to games, and I've gone digital only certainly with my Xbox games and my PC, to be fair.
Yeah.
But there are different costs associated with producing a comic or a book digitally because
yes, I get that.
Because they're subject to VAT, but then you don't have shipping costs, you don't have printing costs, so it kind of feels like it should balance, or it feels like the costs of tax is less to me. I don't know the exact, but it feels like that cost is less than the cost of shipping and the cost of printing and storage, warehousing, because warehousing ain't cheap. So it does feel like it should be less.
And you're right. We don't know all the ins and outs of it, but just from a purely grassroots level, at the end of the day, there are prices to produce something physically that are not going to be incurred if you're doing something digitally.
Yeah.
So
and even down to the point of view of if you're a digital store, while you have a support team and stuff in place, you don't have warehousing people.
Yeah.
You don't have people who are picking and packing. You don't have people who are driving the forklifts. And you don't have forklifts.
Yeah.
So there are less costs associated on that side.
Well, even from the point of view, because I do, because I publish my own comics and stuff, as we worked together. We published a comic last year, and I had pre-orders. And obviously, when I was setting the pricing, I had to reflect the fact that I needed to cover the postage and packing for the stuff that I was sending out.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I also had digital versions that people could buy where I didn't have to cover those costs. Now, I could have charged people exactly the same amount, so if I was charging, say, £12.50 because it was a 100-page graphic novel, but it was actually a tenner with £2.50 P&P, I could have gone with the digital. I could have gone, right, I'm going to charge £12.50 for the digital. But I would be doing that in the knowledge that I'm not having to find that overhead. So for me, that £2.50 is clear profit.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, whatever, but I'm just saying these are the sorts of things that have to be taken into consideration. And I kind of feel that if Comixology had got in front of it a while ago to sort of say, this is what's happening, these are the reasons. Obviously, you can't go into everything, you can't explain everything, but you can certainly give people a heads up on it. I feel that it would have avoided some of the crap storm that has come out around this.
Yeah, completely.
So, anyone listening to this, if you've got any thoughts, then by all means get in contact. If obviously we get enough feedback, then maybe we'll revisit this issue again. So you can get in contact with Ant and myself either we're everywhere online. So I'm at Geek Syndicate on Twitter, and is at WedgeDoc on Twitter. We're on Instagram at Geek Syndicate. You can get in contact with us directly via email at the Geeks, not at the Geeks, the Geeks at geeksyndicate.co.uk. Also, as well, is something I don't really say that often, but I've kind of say, if you want to donate to the show via PayPal, that would be great, because it will help to cover our web hosting costs and our podcast hosting costs. Yeah, got it. Which isn't, which, to be fair, it's not a great deal of money each month for me, but obviously I do have to try and find it each month, and if I don't find it, the website just gets suspended, which has happened several times. so if
and no one wants that.
Yeah, and no one wants that. And a big thank you to the couple of people who have been donating regularly to help keep us afloat. It's much appreciated, folks. So that is it for the inaugural episode, even though I'm not going to be using episode numbers, but the inaugural episode of the Nugeroom. That was my newsroom tune in lieu of an actual tune.
We might need to, think about that moving forward.
Yeah, a little bit. So let us know what you thought, and if you've got any ideas for topics actually that Ant and I can get our teeth into, then let us know. So the plan going forward is, obviously we will be sort of tackling various subjects or questions, but also we'll be throwing in review episodes and stuff like that. But I think the main thing will be we'll be trying to tackle a particular thing, one thing, as opposed to
there'll be focus shows, basically.
Yes, what he said. Focus shows.
Focus shows, one issue per thing, or one, if we do a review, it will be a review of one thing.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. So a more in-depth look than perhaps you would normally get in a lot of these types of podcasts.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, that's it from me.
That's it from me.
So we will hopefully see you again soon, maybe even next week.
Yeah. Let us know what you thought, and bye-bye.